All right, ready? We'll open the meeting of Monday, November 20th with the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome, everybody. We have a couple of manifests.
Yes, we do. I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable manifest of November 20th, 2017, and the payroll manifest of November 21st, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Non-public minutes of 1/0/1900. I'll have to review those.
One of each.
My memory's a little fuzzy on what went on in that meeting.
Thank you.
Want shift over, or?
I'm fine. I got enough room.
Everybody get a chance to review the amended minutes?
Yes, thank you.
The amended, did they come out again?
Yeah, I sent her something,
What time?
well, probably, it was over the weekend.
Oh,
Oh,
I sent you comments on that today.
You did,
Yep,
so you both.
yep. Okay. We've got the amended minutes. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from November 6, 2017 as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let's move on to assigned boards and committees. Where are we with budget committee?
We just met Thursday night, and this particular meeting was to more of a work session for everybody to dive a little deeper into the proposed school budget.
Yep.
And Sue Levinson was there, answering questions and giving explanations. They are, they're concerned about the increase in the school tax rate, and they've already started making significant cuts to what they had originally shown us a few weeks back. I believe she gave us a figure, and I can't recall it offhand, but they've made cuts already comparable to the amount that we voted last time towards the, out of the general fund. And they're still looking at more.
Did they
So-
set a target, like a target increase rate?
I don't know that per se. I know they're more focused on goals and initiatives, and then prioritizing those as, must have and, versus would like to have, but not
Wants
necessarily.
versus
Wants
needs.
versus needs, yep.
So are they trying to level set to the amount are they trying to level set to the amount where, that we offset? I don't know that I'm asking this correctly.
No, I'm just saying it was comparable. I don't think that they're intentionally trying to do that, but
Because one would
that's,
hope that they would come in under that since we're subsidizing some of it. Or since
Yeah.
the town general fund is subsidizing some of it.
there are some elements of their budget that aren't finalized yet. For example, the SAU budget has not been approved by the joint school board yet, so they can't put a solid line item in for that.
Yeah.
So there's a few things that aren't finalized yet. But they're taking another look at it and trimming it down further. So, I don't think we'll really know what the final proposed school budget's gonna be until that very last, session before it goes to public hearing. And it generally goes that way. It's a work in progress until they're done working on it, so.
And where are we in the cycle with them?
We are,
We go to them in 2 weeks with our first draft, is that right?
So like the 30th?
yeah, we're up next, yeah.
Okay.
No,
First week of December,
Oh, okay.
first Thursday in December, I think I have in my head,
Okay.
the 4th,
Okay.
Yeah.
all right? No, that's January, 7th, December 7th.
All right. Okay. Any questions for Tony and the budget committee? Planning?
I didn't go to the last meeting, and there's no meeting this coming week.
Okay.
Tyler went in my place, but that was just conceptual.
Okay.
So, no update really.
Okay. So that's it for other boards and committees. We're gonna talk separately, I think, about the 300th, right?
Yeah, the big thing, for some reason, they want to get a charge from the selectmen, which makes sense. And they held off because they were working on a bylaws for the committee also, but didn't want to finalize anything there until they got the official charge from the Board of Selectmen, as far as, fundraising and different things. One of the big things, established finance plan, a list of things, key dates, like we're gonna have a parade and then a camp out at the square and reenactment,
Yeah.
things like that, so.
Isn't, that's what they're supposed to come back to us with, recommendations, right?
Well, yes, they will do that.
Okay.
Once there's quite a long list of things here. And, it's gonna be almost like a year-long event. It'll start with,
Oh, okay.
and the key things will happen probably July, August of that year, 2022.
Okay.
So that they figure that'll make it official if the board, charges the committee to take care of these.
So what are they specifically looking for us to say? Are they basically saying, they're looking for us to say, okay, we anoint this committee to go off and come up with a plan and a budget?
We already did.
That's the
Yeah, I
thing.
thought we did that.
Like
too.
it came up with a budget, they talked about the possibility of having their own checking account and stuff, and I said, no. We'll run it right through the same procedure we do now for the departments,
Yeah,
getting bills paid and stuff, and you'll see the stuff, invoices before
yeah,
they're paid, just so that everybody knows what's going on. Mr. Bach is the finance guru that,
Okay.
Peter will do a good job. I mean, that's what he's
Yeah.
been doing for years.
so I thought we had already kind of given them, our opinions of what the responsibilities of the committee were, and I thought that what we talked about was that they were gonna go out, explore options, come back to us, have a discussion about some of what they were thinking and kind of budgets and stuff like that.
Before you gave them a charge to do that?
Well, I thought that discussion was the charge to do
Oh,
that.
okay, and,
Yeah,
okay, I see what you're saying.
yeah. Cause I don't know if.
Didn't act to vote on anything, but still, even my opinion of doing up the bylaws, I think might be a little bit overkill, but
Yeah, I would
there's a
think
couple
so.
of them that are quite adamant about that. We had a lot of discussion over the logo. What are you gonna use for a logo? And have a logo contest. And I must have had a brain cramp, because by the time I got home, and I talked to Steve Welch a little bit in the parking lot, and I'm thinking, we have a logo. We have the Minuteman, that's our,
Exactly.
and I look, they're talking about doing T-shirts and the different things they're gonna do, you know, for that's very small fundraising, but, one of the things was, I know there's a local person that did, Historical Society T-shirts, and I looked at that, and it's got the logo, but it also has a woman standing beside the Minuteman, which is not our official logo. It's just, you know,
Hey, Charlie, would it be helpful if, like maybe every third meeting or fourth meeting or something like that, we have someone from, I assume there's a chair of the committee who's not you, right?
yes.
Would it be helpful and, you know, would it make it life easier for you if like every third or fourth meeting, we had somebody come in and just give us like a 10-minute update?
It would be a good idea just to keep the board appraised of what's going on.
Yeah.
And the next meeting isn't until December, January.
Yeah.
Would they find a deadline?
Yeah, January 11th is the next meeting.
Come back to us in 8 months with a proposed list of activities and a ballpark budget and set something, you know, just
Yeah.
to, you know, to check in at this one, because we've
I
still
can
got
see
plenty
the
of time.
budget's
Yeah,
gonna, the
yeah.
budget's gonna be very sporadic, I can see that now already, but, and again, too, until you get right down to it.
Well, you might want to give them a ballpark of what you want to spend on it.
Well, I thought we were taking it the other way. It was like, kind of,
I feel that, so what are we raising every year? We've got like, how much is it in there?
20, 25.
Is that, and we're asking, what, 5,000 every year?
Yeah.
So that would be like, I think it's at like 50,000.
Ish.
So to me, it's like, you've got 50,000, anything beyond that needs to be fundraised.
yeah, I mean, I would be open to them coming back and saying, okay, for 50,000, here's what we can do. Here's, you know, 3 other things that we think that would be,
I'm fine with them coming back with other things, but then how is it gonna be managed?
yeah,
And yeah, and what's the estimated cost?
Yeah.
Cause otherwise, how big is the wish list or the idea list?
Well, it's page and a half here.
So all I'm thinking about is, you know, I agree with Charlie. I'm not quite sure that I think spending time on bylaws is, you know, a necessary part of that process. So all I'm thinking about is if we have periodic check-ins with them, we can maybe,
They've covered, there's a lot of this stuff, and nothing, well, I said, establish a finance plan, raising revenues, establish a rough list of even plans, I'm not sure what that is. Long-range items needed to be addressed, identify the amount of money that might be available through grants, establish a timeline, which that hasn't been done at all. That's a biggie. Spread the word about the tricentennial, look for volunteers, town history, yada, yada. Maintain the warrant article each year for those $5,000 in funds. Appoint next committee. This original thought of doing this was to have like 3 different committees over the 10-year period. Well, we're really just getting going now, so
Yeah.
that first one. Meet
however,
with Barrington and Chester to prevent, we need, Barrington and Chester's having their thing the same year, so we want to make sure there's no conflicts there. We just had quite a bit of discussion over that. Establish if this is a year-long event or compressed into 2 or 3 weeks. Well, pretty much everybody wants to see it be a year-long event, but that it's gonna be pretty calm, I think, through most of the things. Long-range committees,
if this is the first committee, what were the subsequent committees?
they want to do like, well, the board does here, okay, CIP, planning, budget committee, different. And honestly, I don't see that working unless we get a lot more people involved.
Yeah,
And you start doing subcommittees, you're using an awful lot of personnel time there that,
it's just hard to
May
get,
work out.
it's hard to get people to volunteer.
yeah. And this time of year too, people don't even wanna think about it.
I mean, I think there's, to me, like, this committee could put together the plan, but at some point in time, there's gonna need to be, like, when you start to go to, like, the implementation of some of these, and, or the fundraising, the committee, as it stands now, may not be, some folks might not wanna do that, or it might not be the right mix, so, but that can ebb and flow.
I think there's gotta be, though, there's gotta be a core group of people who are gonna, carry it through all the way to the
Yeah.
end. There may be people who come and go.
And I
but-
see, the group that's there now, I can see different ones, maybe following it through a lot longer than the initial thought
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna have that many people in that core
Right,
group, but hopefully they can go out to others and, God, I was gonna say something, I lost it. But, lining up like bands, they're saying it's not unusual to go, take 3 or 4 years longer to line up bands for certain things. And in the parade route came up, and they said, well, the route we've been using for the Christmas parade forever maybe should be changed. They were talking about possibility of starting at the square, coming back down through town, instead of starting here and
Yeah.
going up through Hall's Way and coming back. That's actually a pretty short parade.
yeah,
But, and they realized too, they need to talk to the chief of police about that and get his recommendations.
so Charlie, what would you like the board to do? What do you think we could do to help make that process better?
I don't know right now.
All right,
I don't have a problem with, we've discussed it a little bit, and if you don't do a specific charge, I think it's the general idea, like you said before when it was discussed, they're gonna let the committee go ahead and do what they can and bring the stuff back to the board for approval. I'm not so sure we need a specific charge covering all these things,
yeah,
just to do the best they can in a frugal manner. And, because there's an awful lot of planning and stuff that needs to be taken care of, which hasn't even started yet.
yeah, yeah. There's, there's a term called analysis paralysis. It's kind of like, I'm so afraid that they're
Yeah,
just
I
trying to
can
get-
see some of that happening.
Yeah,
I think what would be, I think what would be helpful, because I think they are asking for a charge, and I think, we don't wanna have them go off, come in, and, it's a $300,000 ticket item, right? Cause, so, what I'd like to see is, what did Raymond do, and what did like communities? So I would put Raymond as not a like community to Nottingham. So what did, comparable size communities do, what have they spent, for dollars? Because at least that way we could have kind of some ballparks to, to estimate, because,
what if we, like, your idea of how much money are we gonna have? By then, we're gonna have $50,000 through savings, right? So what if we did it this way? What if we said, okay, what would the plan be for $50,000, right? What could we do if that's all we had was $50,000 for the celebration? What would that look like? And then maybe there's kind of an à la carte listing of other things that they would like to see that they feel would be, enhance the overall experience.
yeah.
When all this discussion first started too, the number was $100,000. And where nothing had, and when it finally came to the first year, I think with the Warren article, it got changed to 5,000 instead of 10,000.
Yeah,
Because really nothing had gotten done, nothing had started, and I think the 5,000 is fine. We need to get rolling a little bit more and get more feedback from other communities that have done similar things.
Yeah.
Somebody, I'm not sure who, I think Rhoda has been in touch with Chester. And, but
I don't think that,
Londonderry, that's another whole,
Yeah,
that's kinda out of the ballpark.
Right,
I don't think that there's a lot you can do for 50,000, to be perfectly honest.
well, no, I mean, but the parade can, at least in the meeting that I attended, the numbers that were thrown out for what a parade could cost is astronomical in my
Really,
opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't even get into that the other night, but,
But I think, so, you know, so far voters have approved $5,000 a year. I think if, you know, we have to be able to show people what you can do for that and what incrementally you'd like to do, and then voters can decide whether they want to fund that or not, right?
Yeah.
I think if the board, well, even have to, whether you have to vote on it or not, just, agrees on the general idea of this process going forward, but they're gonna need to have approval for any
Yep,
expenditures from the Board of Selectmen.
yeah.
And hopefully that'll calm that down enough so we can get moving.
So do you want to have them come in to talk with us specifically about what the charge is?
I was hoping not to have to do that.
Okay, that's fine. That's
And I
fine,
think,
that's
you know,
great. All I'm trying to
Because
do
they
is,
say, Charlie, will you get the board to do, I don't think they want
I
it the
guess
whole.
I'm unclear on what they mean by, what they're looking for the charge. Are they looking for, I'm unclear what they're asking for when they say charge. Are they asking for a budget? Are they asking to,
Well, that's it right there, that's what they want to be charged, and that whole list of items. And I think it's a very extensive itemized list, which I think is overkill. Could be a lot more general.
so this is what they're,
yeah, I mean, those are kind of the tasks, what, hang on one second.
Possibility just to approve that general list. Now, that is the thing Joe Welch did
Yeah.
3 years ago,
yeah.
and that's been,
I mean, so that's all okay, that's kind of, to me, those are the tasks, right? Whereas the charge, I think, would be,
Just an official statement of authority,
yeah,
delegating
yeah,
authority.
Yeah.
which would be more in the lines to me of, to present the select board with recommendations for a 300th anniversary celebration plan. The board asks that the committee present an initial plan within a $50,000 budget, which will equal the amount being saved by taxpayers, as well as incremental expenses that the committee believes would be beneficial to the overall celebration. So, to me, that's kind of like the charge. How they do it is this stuff, and that's fine, right? But to me, that's kind of what our,
I agree.
what I would recommend, because it's kind of like, on the one hand, putting that 50K cap around it, right? But then giving them the flexibility to come back and say, hey, we know we can do this for 50K, but wouldn't it be great if we did this, this, and this?
Yeah, and I think that Steve has some ideas about, or that the group does about, potential fundraising
Yep.
and what worked that Steve was involved in Raymond's and what worked in
Right.
Raymond, what
Right.
didn't. And again, if we can seek out some other towns' input that have done celebrations like this in our same size, what does work, what doesn't work,
Yeah.
and how much does it cost?
I mean,
and-
I don't wanna give them a task list, I guess, is what I'm a little
I'm
concerned about.
fine with what you put together.
Are you fine with that?
I like
Are you
that.
fine with that? Okay, can you wordsmith that?
Yes,
You got the gist of what I was saying?
I will.
Okay, all right,
Is that something we're gonna move and vote on?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
okay.
to make it official,
Yeah.
Chris, do you agree? Just,
All right, hang on.
If they were here, we could tap them on the shoulder with a sword and send them on their way, but this is the next best thing.
because even these bylaws, they're looking, they create an executive board. I was like,
Yeah, I think the
oh,
bylaws.
The problem with bylaws is that they need care and feeding, and then you're
exactly.
putting your.
And I
your
really don't
limited-
think, I think this, what they have is
I guess
really
when, do,
overkill big
do we
time.
want do we want a time frame for them to come back to us? With,
Every
meeting
6
monthly?
months.
Are they meeting
We're
monthly?
meeting December 11 is the
December
next
or
meeting.
January?
And I can, after that, I can say, okay,
So the May meeting,
at least a couple people come to the next selectmen's meeting after that and talk to the board. And hopefully we can all get on the same page.
So do you want to say like every 3 months?
January 11 is the next meeting.
Every 3 months or every
Sure.
6 months? 3?
Three is plenty, yeah.
Okay.
3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, do it after town meeting, because you're pretty
Yeah.
busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me make a motion then.
Sure.
I will make a motion that we charge the 300th Centennial Committee as follows, that we charge them as follows. We charge that the committee present the select board with recommendations for a 300th anniversary celebration. The board asks that the committee present a plan within a $50,000 budget, which represents the amount that will be available through a special.
Estimated,
What
be estimated.
will be the estimated amount accrued through a special, forget what kind of fund it is, special reserve fund. Okay. The board also asks that the committee present additional incremental expenses as they see fit that may enhance the overall celebration experience. The board asks that the committee report back to us every 3 to 6 months so that we can evaluate and provide guidance on overall planning.
I'll get it done.
That was a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Good, thank you. Hopefully that'll.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie, a lot. I think that takes item 7A off of our agenda.
I hope so. 7B.
Yeah, 7B, but that should be part of just the regular committee, unless they're coming in for specifics. Thank you, Charlie, I know that's not an easy one,
Well, yeah.
you know. Okay, town administrator report.
I don't have too much for you. Thursday morning, there's a turkey trot 5K happening in town from the highway garage down to the beach and back.
Do we have to go?
No,
Okay.
you don't have to go.
Oh, we signed you up to run.
Highway garage to where?
To the beach, the town beach.
Oh, the town beach.
Yeah,
Okay.
not the park. It's a fundraiser for the Washington DC trip at the school.
Yeah.
The parade, there was some chatter about the parade before we opened the meeting. It's the 2nd, it's at 10 a.m. You're all invited. No special attire required.
Unless you happen to have
Unless you happen to have a charming
Christmas
sweater.
sweater that lights up.
For those of you that haven't participated in the past, you traditionally hand out candy along the route. Takes probably 40 minutes, start
Yeah,
to finish.
exactly, yeah.
A good time had by all. We're expecting our new ambulance in the next couple of weeks. They're working out the transition from one to the other, and that's all on track. Marston, we got our alteration of terrain permit from New Hampshire DES.
Nice.
I don't really know what that means, I just saw that we got it, so we're getting together next week to try and figure out what we can do with the funds we have
Okay.
on that plan, so.
Is that Matt? And-
Yeah, Matt and Barry and Tyler and I.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I think that's it. Recycling center's closed Thursday and Friday. All town offices are closed Thursday and Friday. Library's open a short day on Wednesday.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Fall storm recovery.
Yeah, we just, highway guys were out with, we rented a excavator last week and did a bunch of brush pull down and hauling, and did, I think we got just about everything. I mean, there's an endless supply of trees, along the roads, but, got everything that we'd made piles of anyway, during the storm, and I think we can declare that recovery done.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All prepared for when the snow flies?
I think so. Rob Dombrowski's on board. He's meeting with the guys tomorrow. He's, getting his head around the routes, and the guys are about to start putting wings on plows and, finishing up repair pieces here and there. We're fully stocked with salt. We're ready as we're gonna be, I think.
Okay.
I've got a couple applicants that I need to track down for plug-in roles there, and we have drivers for all our trucks and all our routes, but we don't have any depth at this point, so, we might look for one more pair of hands there. But, if it snows tonight, we'll be ready.
Okay, good. All right, any questions for Chris? Alrighty then, budget.
All right, so I gave you the rundown last time, and you asked for some time to digest it. We had one little piece of news. We got our property and liability rates. We got a not to exceed rate, which went down, and was less than I had penciled in there before, so I shaved a few bucks off of there. We haven't changed anything else significant. We continue to tweak little things here and there. The biggest open issue really, we have some ideas of things we could add. We can always think of things we could do over and above.
Yep.
The biggest obstacle to really feeling comfortable with it from where I sit is what we're gonna do with the highway department. We've got some open questions there.
Yep.
What's our staffing gonna look like? What are we gonna do for major projects, if anything? Are we paving anything? Are we, what are we doing there? That's a big ticket item that was kind of open right now. The lead project in the capital improvement plan that I've recommended to you is paving on Cooper Hill and Ledge Farm, paving gravel in those two places. I've retained CMA engineers to help me ballpark price that and lay out what the job would look like. We don't have anybody in-house that can do that, so how to scope the work for anybody that bids on it, and to give us an idea we have a price that John Fernald threw out for us, and we can use that, but I suspect our work effort is gonna look a little different. In our major reconstruction projects, it's often a contractor combined with our staff doing some of the trucking, or doing doing culverts, or whatever it is that we have the capability to do. I think we need to be ready to hire out really the whole job if we're talking about doing that. We can bite off little bits and pieces, but I don't think we can plan on that same kind of delivery method next year, where we don't have the people right now to do it. We don't have the skills in-house necessarily to do it. We can do some of it, but, we need to find out what the retail price is. for those, so that's, CMA is gonna have that for us before your next meeting, I hope. As well as identify any serious engineering concerns with those two. You know, at first pass, we don't have anything glaring. We have some culvert and drainage work to do that we might be able to do ahead of time, but, we're gonna have a pair of engineers' eyes on it earlier than we typically do on these projects. So that's an open question for you. We have a truck in the operating budget that is an open possibility, with highway. We have to come up with a work plan really for next year. If, you know, the major project will tell us what we have left for the summer work season. We may find ourselves doing some work at Marston. We need to do a considerable amount of brush removal, tree removal, I think. That's our biggest, that and our overlay are our two biggest, I think, kind of catch-up needs.
Where's the tree and brush removal?
Everywhere. It's just, we've got a canopy over most of our roads that, I think we need to be more aggressive in cutting back.
Why?
Getting sunlight on the road is one of the best ways to keep the water off it and help it in the winter.
Okay.
And it, you know, it obviously makes storms less disruptive, but roads need sun, and there's a lot of places where ours aren't getting it. So, you know, that's a.
So presumably, if all of those trees are on private property, we can.
No, they're in the right of way.
They're in the right of way. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not talking about.
Yeah, you're not
I'm
gonna
not
go
talking
in somebody's front
Eversource
yard.
scale
Yeah.
tree cutting operations, but so we have those two, and I've been over the last year or so, I've been going to a lot of classes and trying to get my head around this stuff. And one of the, I don't think I've mentioned this to you, but there's a method for maintaining roads and making road decisions that involves a lot more data than you are accustomed to seeing about roads. You can really quantify the condition of asphalt roads pretty well.
Yeah.
And use that information to prioritize repairs. We've had a lot of wisdom, but not a lot of data on our road planning. You know, people that know roads can drive down a road and tell you which roads need it.
Yeah.
But as we move towards a more data-driven mindset with how to do these things, I'm exploring well, it's a road surface management system.
Yeah.
You can collect data manually. You can collect data with a van that drives around and measures the cracks and the heaves in the roads and things, and you can use that data through pretty advanced modeling that turns into pretty simple math about where do we need to be spending our money.
I think that's fantastic.
Where's the need, you know, what's the condition?
Yeah.
Where's the demand? And what are the various costs for maintaining?
That's great. Are there any towns around us that are using that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's, the regional planning commissions are starting to get into it. They're into it in other regions further along than ours is. What you really need to, and this is still something I'm learning about, but working on the worst roads first is often the least cost-effective way to maintain roads. You really need to be driven by you got to maintain your best roads and your highest traffic roads as much as you can, as early as you can, because of the way the costs of maintaining the lifespan curves on a road are, you know, it's really easy to not spend a lot of money and maintain a road well if you spend the money in the right places. So in the short term, it looks a little tough, but in the long run, the more we can do to maintain our busiest, best roads, the less we'll spend in the long run.
Yeah.
And you really need good data to do that kind of modeling. That's a big one. So I'm gonna come back to you with more on that.
That sounds really interesting, Chris.
And so I may throw that in the mix too. So those are the kind of the big pieces for next year, and we need some more direction on that. I'm gonna need that from you. What do you wanna do? So, budget-wise, that's our biggest, I think, our biggest unknown. Everything else in the budget is pretty straightforward. We have some tinkering to do, with a few things, but, and we may be able to encumber a little bit this year and get a jump on a couple things, but,
Because in this budget here is, the section between the usable part of this building and the non-usable part of this building, the wall issue.
no, that's just a Band-Aid, and we don't have anything in there for that. I think it's a pretty big, it's a big project.
Is it a small section of the wall, or is it?
I'm gonna say it's 16 feet. Yeah.
What's that? I couldn't hear you.
The, Chris had shared with us probably about a month or so ago that, the, kind of that hallway in between the usable part of this building and the back part of the building,
yeah.
the wall that's, you know, very, very iffy. And so I didn't know if that was in the
So
budget to
the
do any.
goal is to repair that, or?
Well, we covered it up. We boarded it up and sided it and just, as a,
Yeah.
let's try and get 10 years out of it with this. I have not planned to spend any money beyond the wall of the planning and zoning office ever. I think that's,
Right, I mean, I guess my question is there a safety?
I don't think so, no. It's so infrequently used that, it's a pass-through area that, I don't think it's worth spending money. If I spent any money back there, it would be on emptying it and demolishing it.
What about the other thing that was brought up too, was the painting, painting lines, putting the lines back in on this parking lot down here?
That was done. but
Yeah, it's
nothing-
Done.
Oh, it's done?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
see,
done.
I've only been here at night.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. I
Alright.
noticed it last time I was here.
Yeah, we have some, smaller stuff that we can kind of all card our way through late in the process,
Okay.
whether it's access control in this building,
Yeah.
town clerk's office.
Yeah, that was one.
I haven't said this, but I would, and it doesn't necessarily have to be this budget cycle, but I would love to see better lighting in that parking lot. Having been someone who's left here from budget committee meetings at 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I know there's a sensor light, but I think the lighting in that parking lot is horrendous
Okay.
when you're leaving at night.
Another one down towards the concession stand. There's two lights out here, and I'm trying to remember exactly how they're configured.
Yeah,
I know the one we put up in the new parking lot here, that really does a pretty good job.
yeah, it's when you get here and the parking lot's full and you have to park way down that way.
It's dark.
And it's dark. And it's less of a, well, I guess it's a public thing, but it's more about the boards and committee members, or, the rec department, people who are here late at night.
Yep.
Yeah, that's something that's been bugging me for however many years.
Back to the highway thing, what, the Road Scholars Program through UNH, could we be getting more out of that? Or is it's probably the road managers, and the road crew themselves. But I know Jack has been through a bunch of that stuff, and John had. But I don't know if there's a faction of that is geared more towards managers than
Yep,
just-
they have kind of 3 tracks now. They've got a technical track, an environmental track, and a supervisory track.
Yeah.
And that's where I've been going is,
Yeah.
is mostly the supervisory track of,
Yeah.
and they just had one that was, road maintenance for administrators and selectmen kind of
Yeah.
thing. It was a higher level, those have been really good. In terms of technical assistance, the only thing, and I've asked them about the road surface management software piece. Their whole thing is manual data collection, and they've got a kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? A uniform measure way of sharing data across the state and making sure everybody does it the same way. So they have that's kind of the poor man's data project kind of thing. It doesn't wow me in terms of its speed and power and consistency, and so I'm going to poke at it a little bit more.
Might
but,
help you going and asking the right places to ask questions. too.
Yeah,
That's
those have
the
been
thing.
very helpful for that. And it's really, the courses are really valuable. They're really very well targeted, so they've been good. And we'd send, anybody that comes in, we'd be sending them to those kind of things like crazy. Actually, we had a public works director for a week or so. We had a full schedule of training set up for him, and I ended up going to most of them because he was gone, so. So anyway, we're gonna need some more guidance on what do you wanna do highway-wise. And you also owe a bunch of people in the public more discussion about paving. We've talked about that. We said we'd come back to people. There's another note in here for you, some feedback from a resident on paving. So my question to you is, where do you wanna go with that and when?
Where are we with CIP?
CIP, I think, is about ready to start wrapping up. They had a meeting at the school, and
Yeah,
what's your
I
sense of that?
Had a good meeting last week at the school with theirs, but and honestly, I haven't got back into it since then to start going over and looking at the rest of it. Because all the stuff that we got from the department stuff has been entered into that sheet, and I need to go over that from front to back. And
Yeah, in terms of, what you do for major projects, if you're gonna do anything, that decision's gonna lie with you. What do you?
But it's mapped
But-
in the CIP, right?
Yeah, we have it's all modeled and,
Yeah.
laid out. It hasn't been evaluated by anybody but me, but,
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we need to take a look at that to determine major projects. So I think probably the next step, if you're ready, is that for the next meeting, we should look at that. That make sense?
Charlie, you think we can get the CIP back here in 2 weeks with something? Is that, we got a holiday brewing, but,
I don't know.
okay.
I'll have to contact somebody to find out what that,
Okay.
I mean, even if it's close,
thing is, around the
Doesn't have to-
holidays, nobody wants to even get into that. That's the
doesn't have to
trouble.
be 100%.
Okay.
Okay.
Budget, let's see. Oh, yeah, another thing, I know maybe you have work experience with this. Another thing I've been thinking about is our software. We typically, we work on Microsoft Office for most of our functions. We buy standalone licenses or batch licenses when we need them. I've been wishing for some time that we could evolve our email to a subscription-based, web-based thing that everybody that uses email can share documents a little easier and have some better administrative control over it. If we get a 91A request, we have a real hard time getting that information back and
I had a
holding.
horrible time searching that webpage.
Those kind of things, and it's kind of spendy. I'm looking at it like Office 365, which means something to you.
Outlook Online.
Yeah, that whole arena. So I throw that out and see what your level of interest it is. It would be a different interface in terms of email, but it would also give you web-based software that we could all use the same up-to-date
Common platform.
common platform software. We don't struggle with it that much. Everybody seems to have access, or Excel or Word or whatever. Everybody can fumble through that. They have it at home or work. But we're not really spending anything on that, and I think it's gonna catch up with us eventually, so, I may throw something like that at you too, but it's probably $6-7 grand a year. It's a big number.
Is there a possibility of combining forces with folks over at the school, because together you can get a better volume.
Yeah, I'll check in
volume
with them. I'm not sure what the schools are able to get into all kinds of things that,
Right,
that,
they have educational licensing available.
right. And
But they're not using Microsoft products for the student population.
using
It's
Google.
just, yeah, they're using the Google Classroom stuff.
Yeah,
So for the office, that's a, you know, they have an equally smaller number of desktops that they would have to cover. But combined, you have a better chance of getting
yeah, I think
better pricing.
I think I've explored that, but I will again. I think they've gone the Google route, but I'll double check.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's on my mind. Not essential. It's a want, not a
Yep.
need. And then the only other, but we haven't had questions from you about the budget yet, but so the only other thing that I wanted to throw out to you was, do you have any interest in discussing biennial budgeting? We scratched at it last year and said, there's a way to do it in state law that, you know, you approve a 2-year budget, or you approve 2 one-year budgets at the same time. You finish a year, you carry over, the board can carry over what it wants to if there's a surplus. The town meeting can amend in the middle if you want. We spend a lot of time on budgeting,
Yep.
and that doesn't change very much.
Yep.
You know, we consume a lot of staff time and a lot of volunteer time walking through the phone bill and the, you know, or whatever that we're spending money on.
And this is a pretty new option for us, right?
I think it's been in law for a while. I haven't really looked that hard to see what other people, you know, what other towns are doing with it. but,
Yeah,
It may be 10 years old, something like
because
that.
I'd be curious, I mean, I like the idea from a planning standpoint, but I would be curious as to what other towns have experienced in terms of pros and cons of it.
Yeah, I haven't sunk any time in it, because if you were just religiously opposed to it, I wouldn't waste the time, but, you know, some people feel, it feels like you're taking something away from the voters, and, you know, if that's the way it feels, and, you know, it's not worth it, then that's fine, I won't.
Well, would we put it to the voters?
Oh, yeah, it'd have to be
Yeah.
approved by the town.
Yeah.
But, you
What do
know,
you guys think, is it worth
Well, it's something
exploring?
different than encumbering funds then, but it's taken surplus funds and
yeah, well, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can approve a 24-month budget. So in, let's say, 2019, we would approve a budget for January 2019 to December 2020. It would take 2 years, and we'd take, you know, we wouldn't worry so much about what's going on. Are we gonna make it to December? Are we gonna be okay when December 31st falls, or, you know, do we have to encumber all this stuff, or use it or lose it, or spending freeze and all that stuff? In the first year, you don't have to think about that stuff, because you've got a 2-year window.
Yeah.
Or you could do all at once. You could approve 2 separate 1-year budgets. You do all the work ahead of time. The harder part is knowing what your second year projects are gonna be. It requires that you think through the ballpark price of a couple of years worth of projects.
Well, you also have to think about fuel and salt and.
Right, yeah, all those things that are, but the vast majority of our budget is very stable. It's, you know, in dollar terms,
But that would make every other town meeting really short.
that's another benefit, yeah.
Wow. So what do you guys think? Do we want Chris to at least go explore? Or you guys think it's like not even worth it because you just want to stick with the process that we have now?
I'd be concerned about our ability to respond to unexpected situations or events during the second year when things would be tighter. But there may be more to
You can
it.
address, you still have a town meeting in March of the second year. If you need to amend the budget, or you need to appropriate more money, you can still do that.
I would suspect that there would be a target for the first year anyway.
Yeah, just to manage it, you'd wanna,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have a target, but-
And you may intentionally say, okay, you know, we're gonna, like this year, we're gonna be playing games with our breathing apparatus with the fire department, because you need to buy it all at once. We don't wanna take it all in one fiscal year, because we can't afford it. You know, so you get out of some of that stuff. It's not a big deal, but,
So this is just for the general operating budget, and then any warrant article items would,
well, you would, you can do warrant articles all kinds of ways, but I would assume you would just start out by just doing the operating budget first.
okay.
And you'd want the flexibility in year two to do things with warrant articles differently, you know, major projects or
Right.
capital purchases or, you know, if your grader died in year one and year two you needed to do something, then you'd do that with a warrant article in year two.
Right.
I don't like it.
Shall we?
I like the old way.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I don't know, I know that, I know it was discussed a long time ago, I wanna say when maybe Bill Nedishin was a selectman, maybe looking at it. I mean, I guess I don't, I agree with Chris that there's a lot of time that's spent and the budget doesn't change that much year to year, the operating budget. I'm just trying to get my head around how it would like, how it looks like every other year.
How it would unfold.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's worth looking into.
So what I'm hearing is a reluctance on the part of the board to like kind of jump at it.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't expect
But,
that.
but I would suggest that you kind of keep your ears open and still continue to look at it, see what other towns are experiencing, and then, you know, if you get to the point where you think there's a good argument for it, then come back to us with that.
But would we?
Certainly a learning curve involved there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And when you say we have to bring it to the townspeople, so is there an RSA that says that they have to vote that way?
Yeah, I haven't read it in a while, but yes, it would be, I assume it would be a vote in 1 year, implement in the next.
And is your thought,
Yeah.
That would fall in 6/26/19, the same deal as with going from 3 to 5 selectmen. You're changing the structure.
right?
No, it's in the municipal budget law somewhere. It's
Is
a
it
different
in
RSA,
the
but,
40s?
But if we vote on it in,
37 or
if they
something
vote
like
on
that.
it in March, it would be effective the next January's budget.
yeah, I would want
Which
to,
is
yeah, because
what
you
your
need,
point
you need,
was.
you need to
Yeah.
know that you're preparing a 2-year budget
Right, right,
long before you're doing it.
yep.
Right.
Yeah, and I haven't even talked with our department heads about it. I think one or two of them maybe, but it'd be harder for them. You know, you gotta
Yeah.
think about,
Yeah,
um,
except for the fact that, I mean, if we have good data and you can historically look at numbers, you know, then, like you said, you can see most of what stays pretty flat or has, you know, just a nominal increase every year, you know, so I think like 70% of it would be easy to predict. You know,
So maybe the first thing to do would be to find out the pros and cons from the other
Yeah.
towns.
yeah, so I would just say keep exploring it and let us know if you come up with any really compelling reasons to consider it more fully. So with regards to this budget and the detail, does anybody have any questions for Chris?
I asked him my questions.
Okay.
Questions, no, but I did, like, we talked a couple times before about digitizing all of our old paper records. Do you have any interest in pursuing that?
Yep, actually, Dawn and I were just talking about it the other day. That's another, let's go learn from other towns.
I can help you with that, that's one of my,
The law just changed that allows us to use a different file format to permanently electronically store a bunch of things. I don't think many towns have gone that far. There's a couple that have gone to digitizing, gone paperless, all that. I do want to pursue that. I want to see somebody else go through the new file formatting thing.
is it PDFA?
Yep.
It's easy.
Yeah, and it does look
It's
easy, but,
Extremely easy. And we have it, well, other than storage for those records, we've got everything we need already.
Yes. Yeah, I want to get our cloud situation a little more robust than we have. You know, if we're going to do it, I want to do it off-site. Or, you know, at least duplicate it off-site. We're kind of weak there. But yes, I do want to pursue that.
Okay. I can help.
Okay.
Charlie, any questions on the budget?
Not really, it didn't look horrible to me. I'll go, when is the board presenting to the budget committee?
December 7th. So you will be together one more time before I walk into them with a first draft.
Yep.
And are you gonna present
I'll
the
make a point of
proposal?
get it into it hot and heavy here, see what it looks like.
Typically what happens
You know,
is Chris
the-
goes in it, and the chair usually goes.
Personnel stuff and insurances and stuff, that's the one thing that
Fluctuate.
you're always chasing.
Yep, yep,
And I said, the majority of the stuff is pretty straightforward.
yep, exactly.
Yeah, we've got our health insurance numbers, we've got our property and liability insurance numbers. Those are hard numbers, pretty hard now.
I'm trying to recall now, last time I looked at it, like highway maintenance and stuff like that, that is something that the numbers were off every year, but Johnny used funds from other places to fill in those gaps. He really was hard pressed to try to increase those budgets as much as they probably should have been, because every year we had shortfalls in those, so things like that, but that's really not changing the bottom line a lot. It's just
Right.
trying to get the budget line items a little bit more on track.
Yep. All right, we good on budget for tonight?
Yep.
All right, that takes us through the agenda. Is there anything else anybody,
Also, I went to the municipal association, so, I went one day.
Yeah.
So I went to the annual meeting for the municipal association, and they gave a very brief kind of what the bills they're looking at, you know, that they're kind of waiting for, and there's quite a few that they're concerned about that, is kind of proposal around local control, taking control away from municipalities. And they said that's happening nationwide, so it's not just in New Hampshire,
wait, local control,
giving us the authority to do certain things.
that doesn't come from the state?
Both.
Because you said local and municipality.
Yeah, local municipality, so that the state would do it instead of the municipality. i.e., the moderator can decide whether or not an election
Right,
on a snow day.
right,
So
right.
that was one example they gave. So that was that. Then both Dawn and I went to a session on sharing school and town resources. So the presenters were from the town of Newmarket, and so they're a single unit SAU, right? The school is, so a little bit easier. But so they share purchasing, they share IT, and was it athletic?
HR.
Facilities.
Facilities, which was real interesting. So the
Really
town
interesting.
creates an MOU with the school, like for the facilities. The town creates an MOU with the school that they'll use some of the facility personnel to do town stuff. As well as the IT, right? The town was MOU to use the school's IT resource people and stuff. So it was, it was interesting. I think, one thing that we could probably look at is the purchasing aspect of it, if there's, benefits there.
Did they find cost savings in it?
More efficiencies than cost savings, so more, efficiencies. Would you? There was some cost savings, but
I think better pricing as far as like some of those broad
Broad,
contract things
yeah.
that you do all over. So
Okay.
instead of the town having maintenance and the school having maintenance, it's now under one
Okay,
umbrella.
yeah,
Purchasing for sure, the service contracting, so instead of having 2 IT directors, you have one that kind of oversees the staff. But I mean, they're much bigger than we are.
right.
Yeah, 10,000, population of
Right,
10,000.
Right,
But, I think, we, the size of our towns and stuff, but, I'm thinking, well, geez, if we could do the purchasing, start those discussions, and really, it's the people, it's not us, we would just, meet with the school board and say, hey, what do you think about this idea?
Yeah.
And stuff, but, the other one I went to was, damage road ordinance, creating a damage road ordinance. And unfortunately, so Joanna and I went to that one, and we were hoping that it would be something that would be more applicable to our town. But it was the city of Concord was finding that they'd pave a road. And then the utility company would come in and dig it all up, and they just paved it. So they actually did some data collecting to see what the cost was for them to then, the damage that was done and how much it cost the city. And they created an ordinance in which if the utility company is gonna work on a road, they have to pay a permit fee. And if the road was like paved, within the last 2 years, that the fees and the cost of the patching that they would do would be higher than if it was like 5 years. If the road hadn't been done after 5 years, then they didn't. So, the only place that Joanna and I were talking after that this would even like fit within our town would be maybe in some of the large subdivisions, if there's underground utilities, but I mean, we don't have underground utilities in the town, but, it was interesting how they did it. They got sued by, the city got sued by the utility company when they first did it, and the court found in the city's favor, because they had done enough data to show that it was impacting the life of the road after it was patched was significantly less, so, yeah, so those were the ones that I
That's
went to, I just
interesting.
went,
Yeah.
yeah. Just wanted to share that.
So Comcast is going up again,
Merry Christmas.
yeah.
Yeah, that, I'll remind you again, our cable franchise agreement is up next year, so I gotta dig into what we need to do with that, but it's pretty process intensive.
Yeah,
So that'll be on our plate next year.
That went by fast.
Before you adjourn, I just wanted to, I sent you all kind of an update on the Route 4 property. I'm still looking for appraisers. If you know anybody or have any good leads on that, thank you for the one you sent
Yeah,
me. But
yeah,
so I had hoped to have something for you to approve tonight, but I don't, so I'm still looking. Maybe we can get to that next week, but if, we haven't talked about whether even we should do it, but if you want to talk offline with me about that, that would smooth that discussion over. And I found the billboard company. There's a big billboard
Oh,
there,
finally, huh?
which has a lease on it, which is going to expire in April after 20 years. So that's another thing you're going to have to tackle in that, that long term, if you even want it there. I think I'm probably going to suggest that you take it down so that when we sell it, somebody doesn't want,
yeah,
doesn't have a long commitment of that.
yeah.
So we've got that, and that cell tower lease on the same general property is gonna come up too, so we got some work to do next year.
All right, anything else, guys? Barring anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
no, second.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks, guys. Thank you, viewers at home, and happy Thanksgiving. Don't forget the parade's December 2nd.